This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, child poverty. A jump in Nova Scotia cases leaves this province with the highest rate in Atlantic Canada. Housing stats. A new report shows vacancy rates are improving in Halifax, but affordability is still a major issue. And no baloney, how the sale of this cookbook is helping to feed people in Cape Breton.
Quiet and mild for Wednesday as we dry out, however, not for long, with yet another system tracking in for Thursday and watching Saturday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. Nova Scotia had the fifth highest child poverty rate in the country in 2022 and the highest in Atlantic Canada, according to a new report released today. As Gareth Hampshire tells us, the findings show the rate jumped to nearly 24% and is even higher in some parts of the province.
About 1 in 4 children in Nova Scotia were identified as living in poverty in 2022 in the report by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. It was about 1 in 3 kids in parts of Dartmouth where this holiday dinner might be the only meal of the day for some people.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really, sad to see people struggling in this way. The resilience in this community is incredible, and people really work very hard to figure out how to manage. But food costs have just become unreachable for some.
The charity North Grove puts on the dinners, making about 500 holiday meals. It provides community meals every week and offers a range of programming to reduce barriers to healthy food, as well as supporting people through things like parenting programs.
This center has helped me in previous years and this year as well. We are very frequent flyers here, and we quite enjoy the environment, and the staff are always super friendly. Nothing but love.
She feels lucky she and her daughter are okay, but worries for those who are struggling for food. The report authors used tax filing data and the low-income measure to determine about 41,000 children are living in poverty in Nova Scotia after they found a 16% increase in 2022.
It means that families are making very, very difficult choices. We know that parents, if they don't have enough, will be sacrificing their own food needs for their children, but we also know sometimes that's not enough.
The percentages are higher in some rural areas and African Nova Scotian communities. The authors are calling for increases to income support and a comprehensive plan for the province to eliminate child poverty by 2031.
Every month, every year that these children are living in poverty, it's impacting them, it's impacting their health, it's impacting their ability to learn. As a society, this is an urgent call.
It's a critical issue for the North Grove too, who say their services have never been needed more. Gareth Hampshire, CBC News, Halifax.
In response to the report, a statement from the provincial government says, quote, "We don't need a report to tell us Nova Scotia families face challenging times." The statement goes on to say the government is taking measures to make life more affordable for those who need it most. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation released its annual rental market report today, and numbers indicate the market is improving in Halifax. The city's vacancy rate has climbed above 1% for the first time in 4 years, now sitting just above 2%. Annual rent inflation has slowed as well, from 11% last year to around 4% this year. Lucas Jasmine Tucci, an economist with CMHC, says although the report shows there's some progress in Halifax, it's not across the board.
So usually newer units, a lot of them are downtown. And there we saw more vacancy. But if we look closer at lower rent ranges, then in that case, it's still a very tight market. And we see vacancy rates that are at 1%, even below 1%.
The average 2-bedroom apartment in Halifax this year was around $1,700, which is higher than the national average. Mail was delivered today for the first time in a month, with Canada Post workers being ordered off the picket line. But officials are warning you should expect delays into the new year. Canada Post says there's a backlog of several million parcels in the system, plus a significant amount of regular mail, meaning it will take several days at least to get it all delivered. In the meantime, no new mail or parcels will be accepted within Canada until tomorrow. or Thursday for large mailouts. And no new international items will be taken into the system before December 23rd. A new study from climate science organization Climate Central says Nova Scotia lost about 7 winter days a year over the last decade. Climate scientist Christina Dahl says as the number of days with above freezing temperatures increases, there will be an impact on winter activities and other things like health.
Some of the things that people may be used to doing in the wintertime, whether that's ice skating or snowball fights, those are going to change as well. And it can even percolate into changes in the non-winter season. So if you have warmer temperatures in the wintertime, it can exacerbate allergies in the springtime.
Across Nova Scotia, Digby, Yarmouth, and Shelburne had the most additional days of above zero temperatures due to climate change. And speaking of weather, here's Ryan Snoddon from the CBC Weather Centre. Ryan.
And a mild day today, Tom. Obviously not quite a winter day, but it was not anywhere near close to feeling like a winter day. Have a look at temperatures. 10 degrees, the high in the Halifax area today. We got to 11 in the Valley and Parsboro. Double digits down towards Yarmouth. And 5-6 degrees to as warm as 9 in through Cape Breton. And another mild one for tomorrow, above where we should be for this time of year. Temperatures in the 5 to 7 degree range. A mix of sun and cloud, a nice day overall, chance for a morning shower, then clearing in through Cape Breton. Things will turn active pretty quickly, though, in the next couple of days. You can see high pressure keeping things quiet for Wednesday, and then that next system moving in. And it is mostly going to be a rain event, but higher terrain areas, especially through Colchester, Cumberland, the Cobequid Pass, the higher stretches from the Pictou and Antigonish counties and into the Cape Breton Highlands. That's our best chance of seeing some slushy accumulation from this system. And then all eyes are going to be on this system, but is set to move in on Saturday, or at least into the region. Snow on the northern edge of this one. Lots of question marks, but if you've got travel plans on Saturday, boy, you want to make sure you're keeping a close eye on the forecast in the coming days, Tom.
For sure. Okay, Ryan, we'll talk more about that in a few moments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the Houston government wants to change the way MLA salaries and wage top-ups are determined. The current process is enshrined in law. To change that, within 60 days of a general election, the Speaker must name a 3-person panel to study salaries, then issue a report that is supposed to be automatically accepted. Traditionally, each of the 3 main parties have put forward one of the panel members, but opposition House leaders have been told the PCs want to change that. Here's what Premier Tim Houston was willing to say to the CBC today on his way to his office.
The MLA pay hasn't changed in over a decade. It's a very political process. I think we need to remove the politics from it. But
all right, thank you.
Happy to talk about it.
Houston recalled the House in a rare summer sitting 2 years ago to reject the recommendations put forward by the last panel to look at pay increases. That panel recommended MLAs get a 12.5% increase. When the House does reconvene, there will be a supermajority, a new official opposition, and a demoted Liberal Party. Nova Scotia's political landscape is very different than it was before November 26. But what happens next and what are the priorities for each party? Jean Laroche and Michael Gorman explain.
Mike, although it wasn't all that long ago, the election results way in the rearview mirror, and now we've switched over to governing again with a much larger majority for the PCs.
Now is a good time to take stock of where each of these 3 parties stand and what is facing them going into the new year. In terms of the PCs, they have a massive majority in here, 43 seats. And the question is, how are they going to govern with that size of a majority? Tim Houston and his new cabinet were sworn in last week. For the first time ever, reporters were not allowed to attend that ceremony. To me, what I am going to be looking for is, in their second mandate, how are they going to address head-on issues related to healthcare, housing, poverty? Because in a second mandate, it becomes much more difficult to point to previous governments and their failings on those issues. The ball is very much in the Tories' court now, and we'll see how they run with that.
And as far as the official opposition, the NDP, good news, they've managed to go from 3rd place to 2nd place, silver medal. So now they have to look at how do they become effective given the makeup of the House and the massive majority on the other side.
For the Liberals, they're really back to square one. They are reduced to just 2 seats in this House. Again, they find themselves looking for a leader, and they have to figure out how are they going to go about this. Are they going to rush into a leadership race, something that they probably don't need to do, given that there's a majority government here, or are they going to take the time to go out and talk to folks and figure out, A, how did things go so terribly wrong, and B, how can we maybe start to try to rebuild this party in a way that makes it relevant to voters?
And I've talked to some Liberals who say this is an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and decide what it means to be a Liberal in Nova Scotia. As far as what goes on in the House, Michael, we could be seeing them back here in February. That's because there's a shot clock counting down 60 days from the election. That's when the Speaker has to name a panel to look at MLA remuneration, that's pay and benefits. Today we're hearing from the Premier that he wants to do it differently. If he wants to do it differently, the House will have to be reconvened to change the law to make that happen.
Well, more people will have hot meals this winter in Sydney and Glace Bay thanks to the sale of a charitable cookbook. As Aaron Potty explains, that cookbook has put a beloved deli meat front and center.
What started as a fun idea to celebrate Cape Bretoners' love of bologna through a charitable cookbook has turned into a fundraising phenomenon, raising $15,000 for Glace Bay's food bank and Sydney's soup kitchen.
The concept of the cookbook with the recipes submitted and then the backstories, again, the response was immediate and incredible and an awful lot of fun for how many recipes and how many stories were shared with people throughout the area.
Last summer, 3 PharmaSave stores in Cape Breton held a contest for a year's supply of bologna. To enter, customers were asked to share their favorite bologna dish and stories about the deli meat. The entries were whittled down to 33 recipes that are now featured in the cookbook, full of bologna. Shaw says the book sold out quickly and there's a wait list for books to be shipped.
We've got probably 200 to 250 books ready to ship to basically every province in the country. We have requests as far as Arizona, California, Vermont, Massachusetts, and it seems that every one of these people, everywhere that want a book shipped, have roots here in Cape Breton.
Some of the favorites include bologna hash, bologna potato salad, and bologna chowder, and of course, fried bologna sandwiches.
The whole thing just goes back to the generations here when there was large families and bologna was a staple in the households.
Shaw says staff are thankful to customers whose purchases will help feed people this winter. The book will continue to be sold at PharmaSave stores in Glace Bay, Dominion, and Sydney River, with all future sales to help people in need. Aaron Potty, CBC News, Sydney.
Well, a group of volunteers in the province is putting together Christmas cheer packages for seniors who are low income or are alone this time of year. Here's a glimpse of some of the 1,000 bags they're putting together ahead of the holiday.
We have a little bit of everything. So we have a mixture of personal care like body wash, toothpaste, and then we have some fun things like ornaments, some treats, scarves, hats, mitts that we actually have so many people around the HRM that are knitting and sending them in to us. So probably about 14 years ago, I lost my grandmother and I just missed shopping for her at Christmas. Looked around, could not find an Angel Tree or any other organizations that do something like this. So I just made a phone call to a local senior home, was given a senior, and then it just grew from there. And here we are today, hopefully helping about 1,000 seniors.
Why focus on seniors?
They're probably the most vulnerable in our community and often forgot about. So there's lots of great organizations out there that raise for women and children, but the seniors kind of get forgotten a little bit. So it means a lot to them. We hear where the Christmas cards they get in their cheer bags are still on their fridge, you know, the next year. So it just makes a difference, and it's such a small thing.
I saw a post on Facebook and I signed up right away in 2017, and it started out with adopting a senior, then it started with helping with cheer bags, and it moved on to deliveries and just keeps growing. And I've delivered some where they weren't expecting it and some where they're expecting it, but still they're filled with joy, and you can just tell that it's made their day and made their holidays, and they're very thankful, and they've given me little cards and little gifts to give to Robin. It's really nice.
Someone is actually thinking about them, and that just doesn't carry joy that moment. It lasts, you know, throughout the season, just knowing that, again, someone thought about them and they're not alone.
Charlotte Northwest Arm today, and it was a damp one. Ryan Snoddon back with your full weather forecast in just a few moments. Okay, it was really coming down there at times today. I guess we're going to dry out a little bit, but maybe not for too long, huh?
No, definitely just enough to put the laundry out tomorrow on the line, but make sure you're bringing in Wednesday night as that next system tracks in pretty quickly. And of course, all eyes on Saturday and what that's going to bring snow-wise. So have a look at current temperatures. We'll get to all of that, but let's take a look at still very mild at this hour. 12 in Cheticamp. That's our hot spot. 7 is our cool spot at Western Head along the South Shore. So yeah, it is definitely very mild this evening. Looking at those winds, a little on the breezy side in from the southwest, and those winds will continue to back off as we move through tonight. Still gusting in the 30 to 40 kilometer per hour range. 46 at last check at Port Hawkesbury. There's the rain, which is on its way out. Still coming down pretty good across Cape Breton Island at this hour, especially across Richmond County and into Cape Breton County. But the back edge of this starting to slide out. Few lingering showers, and on the other side of this cold front, we will see the clear out as it moves through, and that low continuing to move off to the north. And as we look at the bigger picture, this is the next system that we're going to be watching, and it's going to run right along this boundary, along the jet stream between the coolest air and the mild air to the south. And again, the cold temps really settling in to the prairies right now. Temperatures tonight, we're going to be seeing overnight lows in the 1 to 4 range across mainland Nova Scotia, closer to 5 for Cape Breton. Those winds will go from southwest to west for the mainland and south to southwest for Cape Breton. And those winds, again, will back off, no doubt, sustain near 20 for most. Note the temperatures slow to tick down, though, as we move through the overnight into tomorrow morning, finally ticking down towards 7, 8 a.m., and then back as we roll through the day tomorrow in the mid-single digits, which is pretty good for this time of year. 5, 6 degrees across Cape Breton, just a slight risk of a morning shower here for you folks, and then looking at a mix of sun and cloud, and we're shower-free across the mainland for tomorrow. Maybe an isolated risk early tomorrow for Guysborough, Antigonish, and Pictou counties. Overall, looking at a nice Wednesday. Great day to get out and stretch your legs if you have the opportunity. 5, 6, and 7 degrees with some sunshine. Not bad for this time of year. Thursday, wet weather. Now, I do just have the rain icons on here, but a heads up, and we'll time this out, that we could see some snow tracking in. Note the temperatures, 3 to 5 in most cases. This is the timeline, so it does roll in through the overnight hours into the early morning hours of Thursday. South Mountain, even down towards Mount Uniacke, and then the higher terrain areas from Colchester, Cumberland, and certainly the Cobequid Pass, and then across, there's that higher terrain stretch of the 104, Mount Tom, and then in through the Cape Breton Highlands. This is where we'll see the usual suspects, right? The mixing with some of that wet snow, some slushy accumulation possible, but most likely for the Cobequid Pass. And then as we move into the afternoon, the system's gone. Northwest winds in behind, so we will see a chillier day for Friday as this area of high pressure settles in. Cold air in place, system approaching from the south. Feels like we've done this before. It's been a while, but this is definitely the best potential snowmaker we have seen so far this season, as this system tracks to the south, running into the cold air, wrapping into the backside of the system. And again, the track is going to be so key. If it is south of Sable, this will be a lower impact event. If it is what this particular model, which is the Euro, and also the Canadian model, also on board with this, a track very close to Sable or even between Sable and Nova Scotia, this would set us up to be a significant snowfall event, which is what you are seeing here in this projection. A little too early to talk about totals, but more than 10 centimeters would be the scenario with that particular setup. The high end, well, we'll leave that for another day. And obviously, as we get closer, we'll get more firmer details. But if you do have travel plans on Saturday, you're going to want to circle back to the forecast. Friday's the last day for the kids at school, Tom, so I'm guessing Saturday, some folks hoping to hit the roads. So make sure you are circling back to the forecast before you do so.
Yeah, good idea for sure. Okay, Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, housing experts say vacancy rates in Halifax are increasing, but affordability is still an issue. A new report from Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation says the overall vacancy rate has increased across the Halifax region in 2024. But affordability remains an issue as the market continues to be tight for the lower rent properties. Lucas Jasmine Tucci is with CMHC. So, sir, how significant is that increase in the apartment vacancy rate, up to 2.1% from 1% the previous year?
It's a large increase, but it's an overall number. It's an average. Behind this, there's different trends, and it's important to look at those trends because depending of what part of the market you are, it might be very different. So most of the increase that we saw came from units that are in ranges that are higher. So usually newer units, a lot of them are downtown. And there we saw more vacancy. But if we look closer at lower rent ranges, then in that case, it's still a very tight market. And we see vacancy rates that are at 1%, even below 1%. Usually it's in the ranges of $1,300 and lower than that. It's still a very tight market for those renters.
All right, we'll talk about more about that in just a moment. But in terms of migration and immigration and the temporary foreign workers and students for that matter, how much of an impact have they had on the market and on that vacancy rate?
So there's a trend that was already ongoing from interprovincial migration. So that was already going down, and that's easing the pressure on the market, but also a couple of changes in the policies that maybe we've not fully appreciated right now that are ongoing. And yes, we've seen a start in a decrease in international migration, more specifically non-temporary residents. And in those cases, it's a part of the population that usually goes towards the rental market. So when we see a decline in those numbers, usually translate in a lower demand on the vacancy on the rental market.
So, you know, this time last year, Halifax was talking about having among the highest rent inflation in the country and the lowest vacancy rates. So how do we compare now?
So we had 2 years of very high rent increases, 9% and 11%. Now we're close to 4%. So it's still far from the historical numbers. We're getting closer to that. So historically, we've seen a lot of increases of 2% in Halifax. So that's the historical average. So we're much closer to that. Obviously, when we have less demand, less pressure on the market, so it plays in there, but also an increase in number of new units that are added to the market. So the combination of both makes for a market where pressure is a little bit less strong. So it tends to be similar to what we get in the rest of the country.
You alluded to this earlier, but on the affordability side of things, why is the lower rent market still so tight?
Because it starts from the higher rent ranges. So when we see less demand from immigration, it's in those new units that the demand starts to be lower. But people are still looking for affordable units, and they're hard to find. People are not moving as much as they used to. So, for example, the existing tenants couldn't afford to move, and we've seen that the turnover rate remained at a 7-year low. And it makes for a portion of the market where, because people are staying in, not moving, there's not a lot of change in tenants, and the demand is still very strong there.
You mentioned that the rents were up about 4%. I believe it's 3.8% in 2024 for a 2-bedroom, which is a lower rate increase than previously seen. What has to happen to bring the rents down further?
Well, we are on a trend of decreasing pressure both on the demand side and the supply side. So demand side, we spoke a little bit about it. It comes to the increase in population, and a lot has to do with migration. And when I say migration, it's not only international, it's interprovincial migration. But both are on a downward trend. So on the demand side, less pressure. Now, if we look at the supply side, we've seen increases in new units added to the market. But when we look at the number of starts, which are very high, the number of completion are not as high. So it's normal that when you build an apartment building, a large apartment building, it takes a while from start to finish. And the bigger it is, the longer it is. But we've seen a widening gap between the starts and the completion, and which is confirmed by the number of units under construction in the rental market right now. So there's a lot of pressure on the construction side. It's a little bit longer to get those units. Eventually, they'll be added to the market, but right now it's at a slower pace than what it started. But eventually, a combination of decrease in demand and increase in supply will ease the pressure on the market.
And so why is rent for apartments that turned over to new tenants increasing by roughly 28% in 2024, according to this report?
So there might be a couple of different reasons, but one of them would be if a tenant has been in a unit for a long while. Sometimes there could be some renovations in between the two tenants that explain a higher rent. And other times it's just catching up with the current market rents that explains this difference.
Is there any suggestion that landlords could be continuing, some landlords could be continuing to gouge, to see an opportunity to make more money?
Well, we do see an increase in the construction costs. So it's normal that, especially in new units where tenants would move, we have higher rents because it costs more to build, it costs more to finance. So those are the kind of variable that would justify a higher rent. So in those cases, it's part of the explanation.
And just quickly before I let you go, the turnover rates remain at a 7-year low. Does that suggest that people are afraid to move?
Well, some of them, they just can't afford to move. They are in a unit with a price that they could afford. They're looking at asking rents elsewhere, and it's above what they can afford. So they stay in their units simply because that's what they can pay. And we've seen also a reduction in the flux from renters to homeowners. So the first-time home buyers are in lower numbers now because it's more difficult to buy a home. So that's another factor that adds to this low turnover rent.
Mr. Jasmine Tucci, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, Ukraine is claiming responsibility for the assassination of a top Russian general in Moscow. And some Liberal MPs are repeating calls for Trudeau to quit after Chrystia Freeland's public resignation from cabinet. Welcome back. A top Russian general has been assassinated in Moscow, and Ukraine is claiming responsibility. The general was the head of Russia's nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. He was accused of war crimes for using banned weapons against Ukrainians. The CBC's Crystal Gumansing has the latest.
An act of terror is how the spokesperson for Russia's investigative committee described today's deadly attack. Lieutenant General Igor Kiryilov and an aide were killed early this morning just outside of the entrance to an apartment building. The site is located about 7 kilometers away from the Kremlin. It appears an e-scooter had been fitted with explosives and detonated. The Security Service of Ukraine, the SBU, has claimed responsibility. The Russian Security Council deputy chair said Ukraine's leadership will face imminent revenge for the killings. Kiryilov is the most senior military officer to be assassinated in Russia by Ukraine. The 54-year-old was the head of Russia's nuclear, biological, chemical defense forces. Ukrainian prosecutors named him in a case alleging the use of banned chemical weapons against Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines. He had also been sanctioned by the UK in October. Back then, the government said he oversaw the deployment of chemical weapons on the battlefields. Now, today, a spokesperson for Prime Minister Keir Starmer issued a statement. We are not going to mourn the death of an individual who has propagated an illegal invasion and imposed suffering and death on the Ukrainian people. The chair of Russia's Security Council has said despite the SBU claiming responsibility, they will find those responsible for carrying out the deadly attack from inside their territory. Crystal Gumansing, CBC News, London.
It was a day of uncertainty on Parliament Hill. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faced more calls to step down, both from outside his party and within, after Chrystia Freeland's stunning resignation yesterday, just hours before she was to deliver the fall economic statement. Trudeau has some time to consider his next move, and now that the House of Commons has begun its holiday break, Ashley Burke reports.
This House stands adjourned.
As Parliament's fall sitting ends, an increasing number of Liberal MPs say it should be the end of Justin Trudeau.
I believe there needs to be a leadership change.
Last night, Trudeau told disaffected MPs he's heard their concerns and would think about his future, but has said that before and stayed on.
The Prime Minister is living in a false reality. He's delusional if he thinks we can continue like this.
In the last 24 hours, half a dozen additional Liberal MPs have joined public calls for Trudeau to quit, even past offenders.
I've always been loyal to Mr. Trudeau. I think loyalty, though, is not a one-way street. I think he should reflect on his future.
A final straw for some, yesterday's bombshell resignation by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, after she says Trudeau told her she was being moved out of finance.
Whatever happened, the culmination was that she was treated very abysmally.
Liberal MP Anthony Housefather says Freeland's resignation letter was a call to action.
To me, it said, Anthony, you also have an obligation to speak out the way Chrystia did. What I think he should do for the best interest of the party and the best interest of the country is to resign as leader of the Liberal Party so we can select a new leader.
In another blow, the Liberals were defeated last night in a third by-election this year, this time in BC.
The Canadian people have basically been telling us for some time, the street has been talking to us, and they're saying that this leader cannot be supported. And we have to listen to that, and the Prime Minister has to listen to that.
But cabinet ministers and other MPs are standing behind Trudeau.
He has my confidence.
He's a strong leader. He's focused on delivering for Canadians.
I think all of us should be loyal to the Prime Minister.
The opposition seizing on it all.
What a mess. Yesterday was a gong show at the bottom of a dumpster fire, wrapped up in a cluster.
Let's call an election before the end of January.
Trudeau has to go.
The Prime Minister right now is facing a return to Parliament in the new year with no clear idea if any opposition parties or even his own caucus will support him. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ottawa has unveiled details of its plans to secure the Canada-U.S. border in response to Donald Trump's tariff threat.
Our new border plan, backed by an investment of $1.3 billion, will secure our border against the flow of illegal drugs and irregular migration, while ensuring the free flow of people and goods that are at the core of North America's prosperity.
Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc says new measures will include information sharing and improving coordination between law enforcement agencies. LeBlanc also hinted at investing in new tools and technology to detect drug trafficking. The man accused of killing United Healthcare's CEO has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism. 26-year-old Luigi Mangione already was charged with murder in the December 4th killing of Brian Thompson in New York City. But the terror allegation is new. Under New York law, the charge can be brought when an alleged crime is intended to, quote, intimidate or coerce a population or influence government policies through murder, assassination, or kidnapping. Mangione's New York lawyer has not commented on the case. As we told you earlier in our broadcast, Canada Post workers are back on the job today. The Canada Industrial Relations Board delivered that order at the request of Ottawa when it was determined both sides were at a standstill after a month on strike. But as Heather Gillis reports, the fight isn't over.
Early this morning, Canada Post workers in St. John's were still standing their ground, barrel fire and all, holding the picket line until the bitter end. Workers were ordered back as of 8 o'clock this morning, but they didn't come quietly, pulling back onto the parking lot for the first time in more than a month. Local union president Craig Dyer says workers aren't happy.
It's a very sad day for postal workers, CUPW members. It's a very sad day for unionized members, and it's a very sad day for the public that the government can intervene in the way that we work and the way that we negotiate things and make changes. I believe that nobody is safe.
55,000 workers with the Canadian Union of Postal Workers walked off the job November 15th. The federal labor minister stepped in Friday, calling in the Industrial Relations Board, which ruled over the weekend that workers had to return to work. After a month of striking, Canada Post and the union were still at an impasse. Workers are now back on the job, and bargaining can begin again in May. They are going back, though, with a 5% wage increase proposed by the company's last offer. But Dyer says it's not enough.
For the last decade, we have not had an opportunity to get a fair deal. Legislated back to work twice, took an extension during COVID. This was our opportunity to fix all the wrongs that's in our collective agreement.
Meanwhile, the company says it will take time to ramp up and get back in business. A couple of million letters and parcels are stuck in the stymied system, including some important documents like passports, even checks. Canada Post says it's sorting the backlogged mail in order of date, and for now is suspending its service guarantees. Canada Post isn't accepting new pieces of mail domestically until Thursday. If you have international parcels or pieces of mail, they won't accept that until December the 23rd. So it's likely that mail and parcels won't make it to their destination if they're new until after Christmas or even into 2025. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
The latest numbers from Statistics Canada show inflation continuing to move lower. November's inflation rate was 1.9%, down from 2% in October. But holiday shoppers say they are still feeling the pinch. The CBC's Paula Duhacek has more.
At this Calgary mall, shoppers say they're still feeling squeezed by the high cost of living.
It's really high. Yeah, it's crazy for everybody.
It is very expensive. It's so hard to afford now. Grocery and everything is so expensive.
To be honest, yes, the prices have gone up since I moved to Canada, which was 7 years ago.
While inflation has stabilized around 2%, prices are still going up. Today's increases adding on to the gains we've seen since the pandemic. Compared to 2021, groceries are up about 20%, and in the last 3 years, the cost of shelter has gone up roughly 19%.
Shelter costs are starting to moderate a bit. It's still the leading cause of inflation, but it's not as bad as it used to be.
Shoppers also got some relief last month on Black Friday. Retailers actually put items on sale. Compared to the month before, Canadians paid lower prices for clothes, cell phone plans, and furniture. Now, with just a week left till Christmas, those deals are over, but shoppers say they're still hoping to find a bargain ahead of the holidays. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
If it seems like Canadian winters have been warmer than usual in recent years, you're not wrong. As we told you earlier, a new analysis shows there have been more days of above zero temperatures during winter. And as Anon Ram reports, climate change is being blamed.
Not ideal weather for an outdoor rink. Joelle Campbell's been helping set this one up every year for a decade, and lately, consistent below zero temperatures are hard to come by.
I would say in my first 5 years here, we had one bad year, whereas in my second 5 years here, we've had one good year.
Across the country, a new analysis from the nonprofit Climate of 0 Days to Winter. The biggest loser of sub-zero weather is Vancouver at almost 3 weeks. It's about a week warmer in Montreal, and in Toronto, it's almost 2 full weeks above freezing every winter.
You can feel it. You know, you don't need the data really to see that, because I feel it just working at the rink here.
The whole family went skating.
To be clear, the weather may still bring us scenes like this, the winters we used to know. But the more the climate is warmed by humans burning fossil fuels, the more likely those winters become warmer and wetter.
Many regions depend on having a healthy, thick snowpack heading into spring. And when you don't have that, then there's less water for the drier and warmer months of the year.
And beyond food or fun, researchers say ice that's been exposed to above zero temperatures may have hidden weaknesses.
These weaker ice conditions contribute to more drownings through ice. And the highest number of drownings occur at the beginning and the end of the winter season.
It's more management on your part, right?
It is, yeah. Scheduling is a little trickier. We need to be able to, be nimble and flood when the time allows us.
For Campbell, who taught his 3 children to skate on this rink, it's still worth waiting for those freezing days, even if they're fewer and far between.
If we can get it open for even part of the holidays, is just a huge benefit for the whole neighborhood.
There is hope for a wintry future, but experts say the time to act is now, before future generations end up on a path they can't control. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
A new comedy series set in a fictional town in the Canadian Arctic is gaining a lot of hype. North of North was created by Inuit filmmakers with an Inuit lead actor and shot in Nunavut. It's premiering on CBC Gem on January the 7th, but people in Iqaluit got a sneak peek, and Juanita Taylor was there.
Whenever you're ready.
People packed the theater to watch the first 2 episodes of the highly anticipated Netflix series, North of North, a really big deal for Nunavut's film industry.
Hi, it's Yaya.
North of North is about a young mother who got out of a relationship in a very public way and is trying to start a new life with her daughter in a small Arctic community. It's the story the creators say was perfect for a comedy.
Making North of North a comedy was the most authentic way to tell this story. We are people that love to laugh. We laugh our way through things. We poke fun at each other. We poke fun at ourselves.
It's fictional, so all the characters are fictional. Even the town is fictional, but it's definitely relatable. I think a lot of Inuit will see the show and feel like they recognize a lot of the characters, like that could be their mother, that could be their sister.
It was important for the show's creators to hire Inuit artisans and designers and locals as background actors. Its lead actor is an Inuk from Iqaluit. Anna Lam says she's excited to showcase her culture across the globe.
What I hope people worldwide get out of this show, I think sometimes people only understand Inuit as like a historical people. We don't exist anymore. It's like, well, no, we've always been here and we've always been so connected to the rest of the world.
So what did some people who got to see it first think of the first 2 shows?
Yeah, it's a landmark in history in terms of cinematography, and it's quite the honor to live here and be here.
The first 2 episodes will premiere on CBC and APTN starting January 7th, followed by weekly episodes. The global launch for North of North will be in the spring. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Canadian markets dropped today, as did the Canadian dollar, falling below 70 cents US after the latest reading on inflation. Here's a look at the final numbers as we head to break. All right, before we go, as we wrap things up here, we do have time for a weather recap and a weather pick.
That's right, and a great pick tonight. Have a look. This is one that, a spot that I don't believe we've been to before. This is West Green Harbor, which is, of course, as you can see, just east of Shelburne, and a beautiful shot here from Stephen.
That wasn't taken today, was it?
No.
No, I don't imagine.
I don't think it was today, but I think recently, and you can see the boat off in the distance there, and thanks to Stephen for sharing this. Really appreciate it. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Beautiful stuff. There are the temperatures tomorrow, 5 to 7 degrees across Nova Scotia. Chance of an isolated morning shower for Cape Breton. Otherwise, we're looking great tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud because we'll see mostly sunny in the morning, increasing clouds into the afternoon. And then that next system tracking in for Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And the bulk of the precipitation will be between midnight and, say, 9 a.m. on Thursday for most of us, lingering longer for Cape Breton. But yeah, this is generally going to be mixing out to just a chance for showers and flurries Thursday afternoon, and maybe even a little bit of late day sun in through the western part, the western third of the mainland. There's Friday, quiet, pretty cloudy, and cool on the leading edge of what will be the next system. And that is set to roll in Friday night and into Saturday morning. And it looks like we'll be waking up with some snow. The question, of course, as I mentioned, in case you're just joining us, is that track. If the track is south of Sable, then likely this will be on the lighter impact scale. If it is near or between Sable and Nova Scotia, this is where we're looking at the potential for some heavier snowfall. That's what this particular model is showing. Shovel-worthy snow, Tom, is what we're saying at this point. We'll get into more details, obviously, as that gets closer. But whatever snow does fall is sticking around. Tuesday's Christmas Eve, so it would be a
looking
white
good,
Christmas.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Stay tuned for that. Well, it's not exactly Spartacus on ice, but the Roman gladiator turned rebel would have easily recognized the venue. A town in northern Croatia has lit up its ancient Roman amphitheater with festive Christmas spirit, transforming the historic site into a bustling ice rink.
The amphitheater is the only one of its kind, and, to have all four sides entirely preserved, it's now morphed from a showcase for gladiator battles and chariot races to an event venue with an ice rink for the holiday season.
It's looking pretty good.
It does.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.